Okay, I've adjusted the exposure compensation a little bit here. I have a Sony NEX5 with a Nikkor 50mm 1.4D lens hooked up to it. And it's very nice. You can set it up in manual and you can play with the exposure compensation and so forth, and you can get the shallow depth of field effect that you really want in order to make the subject stand out. And I used an adapter that was a relatively inexpensive adapter, bought on eBay, maybe 60 bucks. Contact me through my Twitter and I'd be happy to give you the information on it. But they're readily available, these adapters that allow you to hook up the Nikon glass right onto this Sony NEX5 camera. There aren't that many Sony lenses available yet for the NEX5, so since I'm a Nikon shooter, it's very convenient for me to just use this adapter. Now you do have to use these in manual mode. You need to manually focus them, manually adjust the exposure and so forth. But if you're working on a project that's important and you want to use some pro glass, then that's the least you can do. So anyway, NEX5 with a Nikon lens. Here, as you can see, I'm focusing and bring the background into focus there, and then bring it back to the foreground below there. And here I'm going to focus on the foreground there a little bit. Then we'll go ahead and focus back out to the background. See all that junk in the background. Then bring the focus point right on back to the foreground there. Okay, now here we've got a close focus point. We're about I'd say 2 feet away from the carved lion. And now if I move my focus point, I can bring that lion right into focus here. Razor sharp with this 50mm 1.4D. And then if I want to bring that right on back, oops, I'm sorry, go the other way. You can tell I don't do this very often. Bring the edge of that couch into focus, and then that piece of furniture in the background way off in the distance, bring that into focus. So you can see the benefit of having this large sensor on this NEX5 and putting some of this pro Nikon glass on it. This is being filmed with my 70-210 lens, zoom lens. And let me focus, so if I focus on the pillow, there's the pillow in pretty sharp focus. Now let me see what happens when I zoom in here. Okay, so now I'm zoomed in. I've got the pillow in pretty good focus. And I don't have this on my heavy tripod, that's why it's a little wobbly here. But let me just let go there. You notice how now that pillow's in pretty sharp focus. And then I'm going to zoom back out to the piece of furniture in the background. And now we've got that pretty much in focus. So here we're demonstrating the Sony NEX5 with a Nikkor 70-210 f4 lens, and I've got it wide open at f4, and I'm using the Sony NEX5 in manual mode. These lenses can be bought relatively inexpensively used. These date from the late 80s, 87, somewhere 88, something like that. So let me focus this back to the, and again I apologize for the wobbly tripod when I'm focusing this. I'm just not on a very sturdy mount here, but at least that gives you the idea of what we can do with depth of field here with these lenses. Let me try another shot here. Okay, so here's another shot, and let me go ahead and try to get the animal in focus here. There we go. Okay, so I'll look over there. So there. And one thing this demonstrates is the close focus capabilities of this lens. One thing that this 70-210 f4 lens is noted for is its close focus ability. I'm only about 5 or 6 feet away from that lion, probably about 5.5 feet, and I'm in sharp focus on that puppy. So that's a big advantage on this lens over some of the modern, really expensive Nikon glass. So now let me try to focus on something in the background there. Kind of hard to tell, but yeah, I can move that focus point around as I see fit. And again, we're getting a very shallow depth of field here, very shallow. With this lens, I'm at the 210 millimeters here, f4. So now let me zoom back out a little bit. Okay. This has a very nice, very smooth zoom. Now, again, I apologize for this tripod that I'm on is a little shaky. But that's back out to 70 millimeter now. And again, I'm going to play around with my focus point here as best I can. See if I can get the background trim and focus. And the line's probably a little out of focus now. But where we really had the shallow depth of field was when we're zoomed in at that 210. And then we get that really shallow depth of field with this close focus point right there. So, very pleased with using this Nikkor glass. You want to have lenses that you can set the f-stop manually. These I can do that. The newer lenses, of course, you can't do that. So it's another reason to keep some of these vintage Nikkor lenses laying around the house. Over and out. Check me at CraigShipp.com, CraigShipp.com. And I did make a mistake earlier. I said full frame sensor. This Sony NEX5 has a APS-C size sensor, which is still a very large sensor for a typical video camera. Most video cameras have much smaller sensors. So that's why I'm able to do this with this shallow depth of field, because it has the APS-C size sensor. Good value at $650. It comes with the 16mm pancake lens, which is a nice little lens in and of itself to use it as a walk-around camera. And then you get the adapter and put this Nikon Pro glass and have some fun with it. Anyway, thanks for tuning in.